Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. Hello, everyone. Sorry, my computer was a little bit slow there. I didn't think I'd started the show, but we are here. I'm here with Sam to talk all things Villa. It seems like ages ago, one, since I saw you, Sam, and two, since we've done a show. But yeah, lots going on in the Villa world. And how are you feeling, my mate?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Very much like the Villa players have to have a little bit of an off season. We need to recharge as well, dispel some of the pessimism, dispel some of the highs and the lows, and get back to a neutral mindset. But no, it's been a while, man. It's been ages since we've been on. It's funny when you said, "Oh, we're doing a podcast tonight," I was like, "On what? What's happened?" And then just pre-show you like, well, we're going to talk about this and this and this. I was like, oh crap, yeah, quite a lot has happened actually. I mean, quite a bit to talk about.
Exactly. And loads in the chat already. We've got nearly 100 watching already. We are on X at the same time as YouTube. As always, though, make sure you hit that like button and do hit that subscribe button. We're marching on to 4.5K, on the road to 5K. Not far to get to 4.5. So please do like that. Like the video, hit the subscribe button, and get your comments in. We've got loads of comments flying in. I will try and get through as many as we possibly can. We're going to talk signings. We've made 5 in the last week or so. We're going to talk players leaving. Obviously, a big player left Aston Villa in the last few days. And we're going to talk potential other outgoings. Some rumours still not going away about potential other players going. Sam, I see you very, very confused there. But
no, I was just counting the 5 on my hands. I was like, I don't worry, I know who they are. Don't worry.
And we're going to talk ticket prices for individual games, which seems to have caused a lot of controversy. We're going to talk Euros as well, obviously, with a Villa player maybe starting on Saturday. So we will see what happens. So, as I say, get your comments in, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and all that jazz. So, Sam, as we were saying there, 5 new signings in Luiz Dobbin, Sam Illing Jr., Enzo Baranachea, Ross Barkley, and Ian Matson all signing for Aston Villa over the last week or so. How do you feel about these new incomings, first of all? What are your thoughts on all of these players coming in?
Yeah, I mean, generally, like really positive. I was watching the Holland game earlier whilst I was working. Man, I've got a nice little setup, so I've got an extra screen just for the Euros when it's on whilst I'm working. In the hopes of seeing Matson. I don't think he did come on for as much as I saw of it. I didn't get a chance to see him, which was a little disappointing. But I think in general, they're all really sort of solid signings. I mean, Matson seems absolutely class. You know, I had a wonder season at Dortmund last year. And I've kind of got to get out the mindset of like, oh, if this player is so good, then why didn't, like a bigger Champions League team come in for him? Because we are the bigger Champions League team. So, yeah, it's a really good destination for him. Illing Jr. and you've got to help me with this. Is it Baranachea?
I don't know. There's various ways to pronounce it. I think I got hammered on a couple of my transfer talk episodes for my pronunciation, but I'm trying my best. So,
what's that guy's name on Twitter? It was in Luis, the Villa correspondent, the Spanish one. Luis.
Oh, Luis Echegari. Yeah, that's another one. That's another. I might be butchering his name as well.
He spelt it out phonetically, but I don't think he understands phonetics because he made it more complicated than the original pronunciation. So,
right.
What's his first name? Was it Enzo?
Enzo, yeah.
Let's go with Enzo.
Yeah.
I mean, Enzo and Illing Jr., I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of them. Both young players, both sort of well respected and valued at Juve. So big hopes for them. Ross Barkley's a strange one. You kind of stuck with his last Villa tenure, which started off really well and then just sort of sort of fell to the wayside at the end. But his performances last season, and I don't think he's going to be a starter for us, but I think as a squad player, he definitely has a part to play. And who else am I missing? Dobbin. I mean, again, I haven't seen a lot of Dobbin. I know that highly rated. But I think the main thing for me is I trust Monchi and I trust Emery, and I trust that they're only bringing in players that are going to improve the squad and improve the team. And it's a really nice mindset to be in from like years of being a Villa fan. Now being of the mindset of I definitely know the people in charge know better than I do and are far more aware of who they're signing. You don't really have to question it. I'm just excited. I'm excited to see so many people through the door, and obviously a little bit gutted to see some leave, but that's the way football goes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We'll come to a couple of those in a bit. But with regards to that, like you said about trusting in I hate that phrase, trusting in the process, but trusting in Monchi, trusting in Emery, and what he's done with players who have come in already, or players that were already at the club that needed refinement, that needed coaching. With the likes of these players, maybe we have, purchased bargains that will ultimately become great, excellent signings. Because and maybe it is a case of we will steal a march on a number of other clubs that hadn't looked at these players previously. If you look at his track record as well at making players out of, I guess, not cast-offs, but people who might need a bit of refinement at the likes of Villarreal and Sevilla, and what he's done at Aston Villa, goes to show that these signings could turn into absolute masterstrokes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think my biggest concern is that we now appear to have 4 left backs, and
you did put that in our group. Yeah,
we've got 4 left backs and no right backs. I think in the group chat I said we're the reverse of England, where we've got like an absolute overload of right backs and not enough left backs. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd like to see. There are certain positions where you'd like to see people coming in, things that we highlighted as key areas, like a backup goalkeeper for Emi Martinez, and I would say a starting right back instead of Cash. I mean, if Cash is happy to stay on and play sort of second fiddle to someone else, and fair play. If not, then 2 right backs and get rid of Cash to sort of bolster the team. And obviously, depending on what happens with John Duran, maybe we would be looking at a striker as well. So I think the positions that we've sort of prioritized, that left back position and midfield, where we're generally sort of okay, although we seemed a bit short towards the end of the season. These weren't areas I would necessarily have highlighted as priorities before the transfer window started. But again, there's method to the madness, and I assume that it's not all just the fudge PSR figures. And if you think about it, like if you look at Douglas Luiz, I mean, I can't imagine him being rated any less than 80 million in terms of his value. So, and we only got 30 million in cash for him, which means that the other 2 are coming in at 25 mil pop. That's a really good figure for someone of their ages, or they're 20 and 21 and 22. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's. I think it's not exactly what I expected, but I'm excited. I'm excited nonetheless.
Yeah. Out of, say, those 5 signings, who do you think excites you the most in terms of what they might bring, or who are you most intrigued to kind of see what they bring?
I'm really excited about Maatsen. I know it's the obvious answer, but I mean, it's the only one I really have to go off because I've seen him play and I like his style of football, and I think he did a really good job against Vinicius Junior. I mean, as good a job as you can do against arguably the best, sort of like one of the best left wingers in the world. But I think there's it's going to be again more like a collective effort. I think Villa are now sort of post Grealish. We're less dependent on. I would say we're less independent on individuals, and we're more of a sort of collective. And one player doesn't make the team. And I think that's what we're going for. I don't really see sort of like any standout superstars we're just a collective of really good players who play a very defined style of football, and it works.
Yeah, agreed. George, ghosting in at the far post. It's been a while, mate. How are you doing?
Evening, boys. Yeah, it has been a while, mate, isn't it? I wouldn't even. I've just believe this, lads. I've just been playing badminton. Can you believe that?
Not darts at the moment. It's
I've just got in there, and
season.
I'm absolutely bollocks. That's the first bit of proper exercise I've done in years, other than my job. So if I'm blowing a bit, I do apologise. But I thought, as I'm full of energy now, I might as well come and say hello to the lads.
Rich, if I gave you 100 guesses and said to you, George is going to come on and says that he's just been doing something, would badminton have been in your top 100?
It would have probably been number 99. Yeah, well, good to have you on, mate. Good to have you on. So we're just talking the transfers in first before we kind of go on to the outgoings and then other potential outgoings. But I know you're a man very much watching the finances and aware of what's the situation. So how do you feel about these players coming in and the kind of business that Villa have done with the likes of, Maatsen, Illing Jr., Berenachea, and Barkley and Dobbin? What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, really. Honestly, I think that's why I've not been getting involved, because it feels like, I don't know, it's like going back in the days of Championship Manager, innit, with your mates and just selling the players your mates want, and then you take their players, and it all seems a bit funny. I mean, like, who the hell is Dobbin? But obviously, we know what we had to do there with the to try and get around the PSR. The two lads that we've got from Juventus, I've never even heard of either of them, to be fair. But I don't think that deal looks great to me. It's 50 million, right? The total price for Luiz.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was like we valued him at 42.5 million or something pounds. So yeah, how that works, 50 million euros, something like that.
Yeah, to me that is just, we need this done quick, and we need someone off the books, so we'll take a lesser price, because after the season we was quoting 70, weren't we? 75 million we thought. So to take a big hit there and to take two players, I know, I mean, obviously we were in for McKennie, weren't we? And that one's not worked out. So are we taking second choice, third choice? I might be completely wrong. I don't know anything about these guys, but it all seems a little bit rushed for my liking. The Barkley signing I quite like. I mean, that's low risk, low price. That one makes sense after the season he's had. But yeah, the rest of it, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, boys.
I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Villa originally wanted, hold on, someone spelled it out phonetically in the comments.
I saw that. PJJ, yes.
Berenachea. Apparently we wanted him first, and Juventus said no. And then McKennie was put in the deal sort of on the fritz. And so they said, balls to it, you can have the one that you wanted in the first place. So I don't know if that's true. But I think it's one of those where it's like we're in a situation financially where, although we have tons of money, according to the rules, we're not allowed to spend it because, God forbid, anyone can peak. And Douglas Luiz is one of a few players, I'd say maybe like 5 or 6, that hold sort of like significant value. And instead of getting rid of like maybe 2 or 3 who hold smaller value, I think that deal had to be done. And I think as well, people know what position you're in. Like, people knew what position Villa were in.
Yeah, 100%. So they're seen us coming.
Yeah, they're going to pull our pants down a little bit. And I think what was most telling for me was I really don't believe that Douglas Luiz wanted to leave. I don't think he wanted to go to Juventus. Like, his video that he does to like introduce himself to the Juventus fans, he might as well have his hands tied behind his back with a gun to his head. He was not in a good way, and like, I've seen him comment on Villa stuff since, and he literally just says, "I love you, Aston Villa." He doesn't seem like a man who's buzzing about this.
Well, you said that, didn't you, Sam? You said, I mean, we'll go on to the levers now, and you said, I think we all kind of agreed that out of the bigger players, Luiz was one we would be prepared to lose. But as you said, when by his messages and the way that he kind of he showed his feelings, it kind of makes it even so bittersweet that he has actually gone, and we will miss him even more now.
Yeah, I did say this. I mean, because I love Douglas Luiz, I think he's an incredibly talented player and one that I think if we had the choice, we definitely would have kept. I think everyone can agree on that. But in my mind, there are players that I'd be less willing to lose, or like would bother me more to lose. But it bothered me more when I saw how much he didn't want to do it. Like just in that video, him just going Forza Juventus. Like it made me feel so bad. And I think everyone wants players at their club who love the club.
He was probably desperate to say up the Villa, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, Tim Bonham did say up the Villa.
He did. Yes, he did.
He's another one who's been carted away in the back of a van. With his blindfold on, he's like up the toffees, like what's going on. Like, and the thing is, people like Douglas Luiz, especially, is a man who's contributed so much to Villa going from the doldrums to where we are. For the last 5 years, he's been invested in this project to get Villa to the Champions League, and now we're finally there. He's not going to be able to represent Villa in this competition.
We've been on the journey with him, and he's been on the journey with us. We've had to be patient, and wait for the best of Douglas Luiz. We finally get it. He finally gets to the summit, and then it all has to end.
100%. I mean, look, he wasn't a man who towards the end of the season was putting himself in the transfer window. Do you know what I mean? Like he was not. He didn't finish as strong as he started, and I think he's always shown a lot of love to Villa. Be that through his celebrations, through the way that he talks, through the effort that he puts in the pitch. I think his general credence, and I think it's testament to how players can oftentimes feel about Villa. Like, you can be a fan if you're not born into it. Sometimes what do they always say? You don't choose, you're chosen, and sometimes that just happens with player. And I think he has a massive affinity to the club, and and that will hurt him. And I think he'll always watch Villa, and I think that he'll be sad that he's not going to take part in what is now our biggest journey going into the Champions League.
Yeah. He will be missed, and he brought some great moments, and 150 odd games, I think, 5 years at the club, and really did develop George, didn't he? And really good player. And I think Sam mentioned it a few weeks ago. Juventus, big club, obviously, but not the club like really expected him to go. Like, if he was going to go on to really bigger and better things, I think we were chatting about before. But apparently I heard that he didn't necessarily want to go to another Premier League club because of his kind of affinity to Aston Villa. So if that is true, absolute fair play to him for that as well, George.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, traditionally Juve are an absolute giant of a club. We're not sitting here trying to disrespect them.
No.
Absolutely massive club that have won it all. But as you said, they've sort of dropped off, haven't they, the last few years? Continually clouded in like controversy, aren't they, for doping? And I know a few years back they got relegated down the leagues, didn't they? Had titles taken off them and all that. And they're probably not in their greatest moment at the moment. But it's a good move. I'm sure he's not going to be. He's going to miss the Birmingham weather too much and stuff. Nice little move to Turin and stuff. But I always thought that Man City might come back for him. Obviously that's where he was playing, wasn't it? Or he was signed on at Man City, but. Was it? He couldn't get a work permit initially, could he? So he couldn't play for them, and he ended up having to go to Girona, and then we took him from there. And I know
and
they
obviously
had
he's got into the Brazil squad, got into the team with Brazil and stuff through us. So really has developed, and he was frustrating at times, but absolutely brilliant player. But another player who I obviously spoke to Academy AVFC on, as he is on X, for the inside talk on the Villa Academy, and obviously he knew about the moves for Kellyman and Bogard potentially, and one or two others. And reading between the lines, he definitely thought that Kellyman didn't want to go either. And that's it. I don't know how you feel about that deal, lads. A lot of people in the chat are really disappointed that we're losing Kellyman, but I don't know how you boys feel. I'll come to you first, George. Like, for me, academy it's a bit of a mixed bag. You want your academy to be able to generate cash for you to go out and sign bigger players or keep improving the academy. And we signed him from Diaby for 600,000, 800,000 or something like that. So to then flip that transfer for potentially £19 million is a fantastic deal for someone who, yes, he might go on to bigger and better things, but we don't yet know that. But it does feel a little bit kind of transactional, and I guess in a way. So how do you feel about losing some of these academy players?
I think I've had to change my view about the academy now, and I think we're just going to have to face it that most of these academy players we get, they're only there at Villa a couple of years anyway. We're nicking them all anyway from other smaller clubs, and they're just mercenaries. We used to say that the first team players were mercenaries. Now it's the academy players. We're nicking an academy player a couple of years. They train for a couple of years, and then we sell them on. There's the feeling side of it starting to go for me, and I don't think it's good for youth football, if I'm honest. I mean, you're talking about Kellyman, Eric Bonham, and that. They're trying to make their way in the game, and they're just really getting farmed around, aren't they? Here, there, and everywhere to try and balance teams' books. Is Dobbin really going to come to Villa and make an impact? Is Eric Bonham going to go to Everton and start playing? I mean, Kellyman's, is he going to play at Chelsea? It's all just box ticket, isn't it? And I know this is the loophole that clubs have found, and they're going to use it for as long as they can. But I just think now with youth players, just is what it is. We're never going to see them, so don't get too hung up on it. If we get a good price for one, you just take the money, don't you? And and then you try and invest that in your squad.
Yeah, Sam, what about your thoughts on that?
I was off to play some darts.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going. Put the lights down.
I'm kind of with George, if being honest. Kellyman is not a player that I have a massive attachment to. He played 2 games.
Yeah.
In his whole sort of tenure at Villa. He came from Derby. He's not he's not really homegrown. He's, we're getting a shit ton of cash for him. When I've seen him play, he looked fine. He looked really good. It looked like a talent, but of course he would do. But I always thought he was a bit lightweight. I thought he was a bit skinny for this league. It's one of those where it's not good for his career. I don't think it's a good message for the kids in the academy that we're going to make you as good as possible so we can ship you off somewhere else where you're not going to get played. But I don't think this loophole will exist for very long. No. By the way, so I don't think this is going to be like.
What it's almost like as well. It's almost like if we sign a player like a Kellyman or Eric Bonham, or let's say we're going to sign a couple of other young players over this summer. As soon as they get into the first team squad, or even say get onto the pitch and make an appearance, it's almost like you can add about 3, 4, 5 million onto their price tag because of that potential. So because Kellyman appeared 6 times in the first team, that kind of made it like, oh well, he's appeared in the Premier League, he's appeared in Europe, so that puts another 10 million on his price tag. It just seems like that I know there's sometimes that English player tax and that kind of thing, but it's almost like a calculated situation. Like you put them in the first team squad, and then you might give them a couple of appearances, and then you can sell them off for higher money at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we've got to be realistic though. Like, how many youth team players have we really seen come through and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So instead of getting these players that for as long as time have been really hyped and then nothing really happens with them, like your Louis Barrys and all your other wonder kids who are supposed to be the next the second coming. Well, now they're not playing, but fine, but we're getting 20 million for them at the end of the season. I mean, I was more upset about Tim Bonham because I thought that he had what it took to play well in the Premier League. He's 20 years old? There are bits and pieces of his game which obviously aren't refined, aren't perfect. He's not like a Jude Bellingham. He's not going to be a world beater, but I thought he was a good player. And I think that he contributed a lot more to Villa. And I think he's been in and around the squad for a lot longer than Amari Kellyman has. So, and I think he was another one who was quite invested in the club, not just because he accidentally set up the Villa instead of up the Toffees. But I think just generally, I think he was all right. Like I quite liked him. I'd have liked to have seen him get more of a chance last season when Kamara was out. I don't think he was given like a fair shake of the stick. And I think the other thing to think is Emery doesn't really have a great track record of playing the youth, even when we're like out on our feet. Like, we still play like Callum Chambers and stuff like that. So, these players, there's a good chance that they're not going to get opportunities at Villa anyway. Like, everyone's saying, I don't like that Kellyman's gone to Chelsea because he's not going to get a chance. Well, he wasn't going to get a chance here either. So, might as well go and get paid double there to not have a chance and stay at Villa, right?
Well, Bear in the Garden says, and I mentioned this a couple of times, with us being in the Champions League now and the stakes getting higher and higher, it's difficult enough for academy players to get into the first team anyway. It's going to be even more difficult now, isn't it? So they're going to have to be an even higher standard. Maybe they're playing like the Carabao Cup or something like that, but to break into that as a regular,
they just need to be good enough, Rich. Like that's it. Like if they're good enough, if they're at a level, like you see it all over the world, in every football team, they always have a kid who comes through who ends up being quite special. I look at it was at Branthwaite at Everton, Garnacho and Kobe Mainu, and these players are 18 years old, 19 years old, but it doesn't matter. Like I'll tell you the player that's really not moving on to the Euros too quickly or prematurely, but the player that's really caught my eye at the Euros, I absolutely love watching. There's two of them. One is Lamine Yamal from Spain, who's 16 years old, and the other one is Musiala. I know these are generational talents. They're going to end up being probably competing to be the best in the world for a number of years. But those kids are just like, it just shows that the age isn't important. The experience isn't necessarily important. If you've got it, you've got it. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we're not expecting them to play to the same level as Musiala and Yamal, but there's definitely a position for a really talented youngster to come in and do a job. And you need that. If we're talking about sustainability and, what football clubs should do, we should be developing talent. We should be bringing, players through. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, talking of the academy and players that have come through it, we're still getting rumours of potential outgoings, and people in the chat are talking about it right now. I led the show with it in terms of outgoings, but Tottenham apparently interested in Jacob Ramsey, George. It came through at the start of the summer. It's still going through now. Johan Lange, which I actually forgot he was the technical director at Tottenham, is a big fan. How do you think this is going to play out over the summer? Emery obviously will say he doesn't want to lose him, but does every player have their price? And do we look at the profit and sustainability rules moving on to next year if a big bid comes in? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think, every player does have their price. And, the situation now, you can't sort of say, no players, not for sale as such. With the Ramsey thing, I think Langer's probably he's had an inside role at Villa, so he probably knows about the finances. We all speculate, but he's going to know a lot more than what we do. And he's probably just said to them, look, just test the water. They're in the shit a little bit. Have a bid, go 20 million, go 30 million. What harm can it do? And Daniel Levy, he's a classic low baller, isn't he? He'll try his luck. I mean, what's the worst can happen? Villa can say no. They very rarely overpay for players. Spurs, I know they got the pants pulled down on that and Dembele, didn't they? But that's one of a few. But yeah, I'm not sure with Ramsey. He is one of our own, isn't he? Everything we've just said there, he is a classic academy player that has got through, is homegrown, is a Villa fan. So he's a player we want to see do well. But the injuries have crept in with him the last couple of years, and he's unavailable more than he's available these days. So I don't know. If you're looking at 40, 50 million, I'd be tempted myself. But at the prices that I'm hearing at the minute, absolutely no chance. I don't know. What's your views, lads?
Well, I'll do a few comments first, then I'll get Sam's opinion. Drista says Ramsey will always be one of the candidates to leave under the current PSR rules if we continue to have issues. Kevin said it's a no regards Ramsey. Trust me. And who else have we got in the chat? Stephen says, Ramsey stays, would ruin the Emery supporters link if he went. Gary said Ramsey isn't worth anything like at the minute. One more season and see how he goes. Gaz says every player has his price, but Spurs won't pay it. Yeah. Weston said if it's a massive bid, then sell. So fairly more leaning towards the no sell than the sell. But
haven't they just spent big on young Gray from Leeds today?
Gray, yes. So that could affect it as well. What do you think, Sam, with regards to Jacob Ramsey?
I think he's got the potential to be like a massive player, to be sort of like a really, really top talent. I think to date, I think he's played a lot of football for someone his age, and he's had sort of like ample opportunity to sort of build up momentum. And I think he explodes and shows brilliance in bursts. So yeah, he seems to be sort of like an inconsistent but really, really talented footballer. I'd be inclined if a massive bid came in to sell him, because if you look at that midfield now, we've got Morgan Rogers, who's so similar to Jacob Ramsey. But if I'm being honest, in 6 months he's sort of like inspiring me a little bit more than Jacob Ramsey has. So I would be inclined to sell him if a massive bid comes in. But I'm also aware that he could turn up to be an absolute world beater and go on to play for England and do really special things. So I'm also reserved. But yeah, I don't see Emery wanting to let him go, if I'm being honest.
No.
But I will say that the comment that says that if Jacob Ramsey goes, Emery will burn bridges with the fans, I think that's absolute rubbish. That's nonsense. Like, no fan is ever going to be, get Emery out because we've sold Jacob Ramsey. It's just not going to happen, is it?
I mean, we've had 3 managers that have all fancied Ramsey, haven't they? Obviously, Smith brought him in initially, and then you thought, well, as a youth player, he's probably a little bit vulnerable when Gerrard come in, but Gerrard loved him as well. You know, Gerrard come and went.
One of those
Emery's
players.
played him too.
Yeah, he's one of those players like Sam said there, similar to how Rodgers was. He can get you territory. He can dribble with the ball quickly from our box to the opposition box very, very quickly, and then he can score goals. Last season, like you said, was a massively frustrating one for him, where he constantly got injured and couldn't get himself fully fit. But we know what a fully fit Jacob Ramsey can do, and if he can have a really good pre-season and then start the season on some sort of form, then I think we've got a really good player. And then you factor in the competition then with a Morgan Rogers, with a Buendia, with other players in that midfield. You're thinking, well, players have to be performing at a high level to keep their shirt, and that's what we've wanted as Villa supporters for a long time, and particularly in those attacking midfield areas as well. So I don't see him selling him at this time. And if we're clear of this profit and sustainability for now, then I don't think there's any rush to kind of sell him right now. And I think there's probably other players ahead in the list to potentially sell. And also there's a number of fringe players that we need to try and get off the books somehow that might generate a little bit of funds to compensate for it and us not need to sell him. Now, John Duran, Cameron Archer, on the other hand, I'm here in West Ham potentially interested in someone like John Duran, whether that's his agent again, just trying to hawk him out to any club that might listen. But what are your thoughts on a Duran or an Archer leaving, Sam? I've actually heard Archer might be one to keep purely on the English quota with regards to the squad. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of Archer.
A fan, Sam? That's a bit of an understatement, mate.
You've been the president of the Cameron Archer fan club.
I've been the president of the fan club. No, I think he's a brilliant player. I think it's hard for him. It was easier when Villa were playing at like a slightly lower level, whilst we were like trying to get into top 10 and like secure that and maybe push for European football. I think for the experience that he's had at in top flight football, I think now to push him into a Champions League scenario but I don't think it matters. I think it's the exact same as I don't know if you guys remember, but I said this about Ollie Watkins going with England to the Euros. I said it doesn't matter if he makes it or not because he's not going to play. And it's the same.
He got 14 minutes. What are you on about?
Yeah, he's not going to play any meaningful part in that, and it's the same with any striker at Villa because Watkins is always going to start. He's always going to play, and I think the problem is even when Watkins shouldn't play, when he's maybe played a bit too much football, or when we're in the Conference League, and it was probably one that Duran could have started and maybe brought Watkins on a little bit later. I think Watkins always starts and he always plays, and I don't think that's good for Archer's career. I think we need a backup who's genuinely going to compete with Ollie Watkins, even if he doesn't like it. So I'd love to see him stay. I'd love to see him given a fair crack. I just don't think he will. So yeah, why not? And I think the other thing is as well, we sold him to Sheffield United for 20 million last season. Obviously now we have to take him back, but no one else is going to pay that after the season he's just had with possibly one of the worst Premier League sides we've ever seen. So
did we take him back for that 20 million?
I think was it about half, Sam?
Yeah. I think we had to give him a part exchange, a bit of a refund on that one.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Duran. It seems like he's pushing for a move, which again is fine. You know, if Duran seems like a top player, but if someone wants to give us stupid money for him, he's another one where he will turn out to be a great player. Like, I don't have any issue with that. But I've always said if a player doesn't want to be at the club, I've got no interest in them staying. So if he wants to push a move and he wants to go to anywhere but Villa, like going to West Ham, if he goes there, it's not an upgrade on where he's at now. So, so yeah, I don't know. Let him go.
George,
with Archer, it's a difficult one now because, like Sam said there, his stock's dropped. So, and the Championship clubs are all skint, and that's where he's done most of his damage, isn't it? In the Championship on loan, but none of them's going to pay that money that we want. The Premier League bottom clubs, you know, what he scored for Sheffield United, about 4 goals. He looked good early season, but then he just kind of sunk with the ship, didn't he? Because Sheffield United were terrible. So I can see him going back out on loan again, and us starting the process again. Him going out on loan to QPR or somewhere like that, scoring the 20 goals all over again, getting the stock back up, and maybe that's when we sell when a promoted team comes up, and you know, and he's fresh again. He's fresh on people's minds, because. Like Sam said again, we're a Champions League club this season. Where's Archer's going to play for us? What, in the League Cup? You know, and you know our form in that we go in it and we come out of it very quick. And you know, and Cameron Archer's is just going to be a name on the bench that doesn't ever really feature. So I think we're kind of stuck in that situation. It's not going to be what we want to do with Cameron Archer. It's going to be what comes in and we'll take. Yeah. As for Duran, again, he's in a tough spot, really, because he's a good little player. You know, he's young, he's keen, he's a bit too keen, really. He's that mad as a box of frogs. But where does he get his minutes? Because Watkins is so durable, very rarely gets injured, touch wood. You know, so he's sitting there. You know, what good is 10 minutes here and there really doing for him? He's young, and you know, he wants to take his moment, doesn't he, and make a name for himself. And it depends how patient he is. The interest in him, though, it seems a lot, doesn't it? Everyone seems to like him. So, you know, we think he's all right, but everyone else, all these clubs seem really keen on him. So maybe they're seeing something. Maybe he's going to be a world beater.
Well, we've seen it in flashes and what he can do and what damage and what chaos and what strength he's got and what speed he's got. And there's attributes that he has that you can't coach and you can't overlook.
He's proper off the cuff one, isn't he?
Someone can harness that. Then you've got a real player. And is he 20 years old, 21 years of age?
Archer?
No, Duran, though, mate.
Duran.
Oh.
Duran. Oh, he's 22, isn't he? Is he 22?
Duran, no, he's about 2021, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
Nah, he's younger than that.
So either way, if you harness that ability, then when he hits that peak of 24, 25, 26, you have got if you can harness it and refine it, you've got a hell of a player, because he's pretty much got everything, and he's got that arrogance about him, hasn't he? You know, who takes that shot against Liverpool and just puts it in the bottom corner like that? You know, there's a lot there, but I just think, and we've had debates about this before about him. I don't, and again, it's not him and it's in an attitude issue with him or anything like that. I think it's just that Unai Emery, I don't think has the spot for him in his squad. I think that's the point.
I struggle to see how he doesn't have a spot for him in this club. I think one of the things that's
20.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that's so impressive is we talk about like this limited time that any backup striker is going to get on the pitch while Ollie Watkins is playing. And I think even with that limited time, John Duran really managed to impress a lot of people this season, but hardly playing. And I think his goals...
Well, look who he scored against.
Yeah, his performances against sort of like big players and in big moments are quite notable. But I think if you look at his figures compared to Ivan Toney's, he's played significantly less football than Ivan Toney did last season, despite him being injured, being banned for the betting thing. And his numbers shit all over Ivan Toney's, and Ivan Toney's the second coming. He's at £80 million going to Arsenal. Like if you look at it on paper, admittedly John Duran's in a better team, but in theory, John Duran is like he's an alternative if you're looking to buy an Ivan Toney, and he's significantly cheaper. So I think he's a really
should
good
we use
player.
him more? Should we be taking Watkins off more often and giving him more of a shout?
100%. I mean, the thing is, I can't ever comment on Watkins again because I've lost all credibility. Like anything I ever say about Ollie Watkins now is going to be part of some wider vendetta and agenda, and it's not true.
Especially with Gaz Oaks in the chat.
Yeah, but absolutely. Like Watkins played far too much football last year, not because he's not good enough, but I think that contributed massively to him tailing off towards the end of the season and not getting his 20 goals. I think he was just burnt out. And there are a couple of games where you have to trust Duran and say, look, I know you're an absolute baller. Go and do your thing. And the problem is, if Duran ever did come on, he came on alongside Ollie Watkins. He never replaced him. He always played as like a flick on and stuff like that. So no, 100%. Ollie played too much football last year. Considering that we were in Europe from the qualifiers against Hibs all the way to the end of the season, semi-finals in the Conference League and what we did in the league. Yeah, he played far too much football. You can't expect him to do that again.
Yeah. Well, we will see about the outgoings. There's one or two others, Lamar Bogard and like I say, some of the fringe players as well that we might see. Kane Kessler Hayden as well might.
Are we going to get rid of Callum Chambers and Big Daddy Donk?
Well, if anyone comes in for them, I think the young players have got more of an opportunity of going than some of them. Yeah. So
they're being paid too much.
Yeah, exactly. But we shall see.
What's going to happen with our 4 left backs as well? Are we getting rid of some of them?
Yeah, Moreno and Dean. Yeah, look, we're probably going to have to shift at least 1 or 2 of those.
What's happened to the Saudi money? They've stopped all of a sudden.
That young lad's going to Watford on loan, isn't he?
Who?
Sosa.
Lino Sosa.
Lino Sosa's going to Watford.
I wonder if that right back as well. Again, another name that I can't pronounce.
Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, they just need to sign someone called like Williams or something so I can say it. But he's obviously he's coming into the squad now. But I think we definitely we need a clear out, boys. You talk about needing to generate money. We've got a bunch of players that we need to shift. Chambers being at the top of that list. And Big Daddy Donk not being massively behind. So, I don't know. I think there's. I think we need to have a clear out.
We've got 36 players or something, and that's not including kind of youth players that could get fast tracked into the first team. So,
are we? I don't know why I assume that you know more than me on this. Are we Are we bringing back Philogene for Ace or?
No, I don't think so. I think there's Barcelona interest in him, and there is, I think Everton were interested in him.
Why didn't we sign him back and then sell him for like a massive profit?
I don't think. I think there was something to do with the terms of the contract. Like we can go in for him in terms of like other clubs bidding for him, but I don't think there was a specific buyback clause put in there from Hull. Unless they got promoted.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I thought there was. I think because I remember the Hull City owners saying, "I don't think Aston Villa."
Something like a matching clause. We've got a matching clause to whoever else puts a bid in for him.
What? And then we get him if we match the bid of the other team.
I don't know what the priority is on that. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. There's got to be some sort of benefit for Villa because we could match a bid and then he could turn around and say, "Well, no, thanks. I don't want to come back."
Just put it.
People in the chat will know what the situation with Philogene is, but he's certainly wanted by a few clubs. Again, whether that's his agent talking or whether that is actual concrete bids, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's definitely not an Aston Villa player, though. I'd say that.
Yeah, but he's like 5 million for him. He seemed like a bigger talent. I thought the benefit.
He went really. I think he'd have played a bit last year if he'd have stayed around.
Of course he would have.
He would have done.
Do you remember pre-season last year?
Yeah.
He looked absolutely mint. He was a pick of the bunch. I think him and Emi Buendia last summer, and Diaby when he came, looked absolutely mint. But I think Diaby and Leon Bailey are ones where like they've kind of helped me temper my expectation for new signings now. It's like look, they might come good eventually, but I'm not going to expect the world of them when they come in. Like, I need to like grow up a little bit because I've got this mind. We've just signed this guy; he's the best ever. I was
going to say, lads, about what's happened to all this Saudi money. That's still gone very quiet, hasn't it? Like last summer, they wanted everyone and his cat, and now they're not linked with anyone.
Everyone's driving electric cars.
China all over again.
Problem.
Yeah, it could well be. I think there's a few players. I think there's a Real Madrid player that said he's going to Saudi. But
Nacho has already gone.
Yes.
He's
but
the
in
Real
terms
Madrid
of the
captain.
big transfer fees, I think they're talking about what's the lad from Newcastle up in? I'm trying to think what his name is now. The winger who plays for Panama.
Oh, Miguel Almiron.
Talk about Almiron potentially going to Saudi as well. But yeah, like you say, they're not huge transfer fees anymore.
I think they need another marquee because so Ronaldo went there, and obviously he was like the draw for other players to come in, and now his stock has dropped for some reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but apparently people are surprised that a 40-year-old Ronaldo isn't as good as a 30-year-old Ronaldo. But maybe they need another marquee. But I think that you've got to remember as well, Saudi have divested their interest in sports into
the
boxing and golf.
Crazy,
they're going after the darts now as well, are you?
Yeah, they put shit ton of money in golf, in darts, in boxing, and other areas. Like they've got people know about Saudi football now, and more importantly for them.
Oh yeah, Musa Diaby was actually mentioned again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would you take that? 80 million?
We were fighting with a Saudi club to get him in the first place, weren't we? Diaby?
Yeah, well, apparently they're coming back in for him. So,
well, he turned down significant money from Saudi to play for Villa, if I remember the reports correctly. But here's a question, boys: your money back? What was it? 52 million for Diaby? Would you take it?
That's a good
I
one,
wouldn't take the money back. No, I'd want profit. I think his numbers suggested that. There's more in the deal.
I'm giving you an option to cut your losses here, Rich. I'm giving you your money back, guarantee, cash.
No, I wouldn't take it.
20 million in Benzema. This is what I'm like at the negotiating table, boys. I'm
not sure if I'll take it.
Names out.
I'll give you 11 million in Brozovic. Yeah, would you take it, George?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. If he comes back pre-season with a bit of muscle on him, that's the problem. He's not strong enough for the Premier League at the moment. On last year, he just got bashed about, didn't he? If he comes back a bit stocky and he can handle it a bit more, and they give him a bit of a shoeing in training, there's a player. He's a good player, isn't he? But at the moment, I wouldn't say he's suited to the English league. If he comes back the same as we had last season, I'll take the money back. I'll take the money, Sam. Yeah, if he comes back the same.
Forget his muscles, mate. He needs to work on his first touch. That's fucking horrible.
Kevin says 50 million upwards. Diaby can go. Luiz says no, Sam. And
I'm not proposing it as like a real option here. I'm just asking a question.
Paul says we can't sell Diaby. We're still paying for his fee for 2 more years. Michael says 70 million deal. James says Moose is going to have a better season this time. And Lewis said Diaby is the reason why we had a great Bailey last season.
I was hoping you'd skipped over that comment because it's absolute dog shit.
Peter said Diaby's going to smoke the Premier League this year. So, well, we'll see. We'll see. Just quickly on the transfers, who and where? I know you touched on it slightly before, Sam. But George, I'll ask yours first, then I'll come back to you, Sam. Positions where you think we need to still improve, should everything go well and we get rid of all these fringe players and we bring in some extra money and you've got your kind of, strategic hat on of where you think we need to improve still with the squad. What positions are you looking at the moment still, George?
Backup goalie, number one. I just don't want to see Robin Olsen play again. I really don't. You've got to replace Robin Olsen, mate. He's even more important than a right back. Because Martinez misses games, doesn't he? You know, no, it isn't. Because how many games does Olsen play a season, and how many games does he cost us? It ain't nonsense. They can
How many
see
games
goals.
does Matty Cash play a season? What's this?
No,
game?
I'm not having that, Sam, at all. I want to back. If
Wait,
Martinez
Ezri Konsa was playing right back for 3/4 of last season. What are you talking about?
we got away with it, didn't we? Where did we finish?
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
So backup, just a backup goalie, George. Just a backup goalie.
Yeah, well, this Nedeljkovic lad, he did an interview the other day, and he thinks he's coming to Villa to play, mate. So we might have a player on our hands there.
George, no, sorry, George. So backup goal is the most important one for you.
Yeah, if the injuries all come back, then yes.
So Sam, another left back for you then?
Yeah, I think we should swap Jacob Ramsey for Doggy and see how that goes. I think definitely. I agree with you, George. Actually, before you came on, I did say we need another backup goalkeeper, so I'm just winding you up. Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see a right back. If the figures I'm hearing about Matty Cash are true, if we're able to get, or we're looking to get 30 million for
30, aren't they? Yeah.
I'd sell him, mate. I like Matty Cash as much as the next one, but I'd get rid. I'd have that, whatever his name is.
Nedeljkovic.
What's his first name?
Costa.
Yeah, Costa. All right. Well, I'd
Enzo and Costa.
I did Costa there. And I was about to make the worst dad joke ever. I was going to say, see if Starbucks wants to come in. But no, I'd leave Costa getting another. Do you know who I really like today? I was watching Dumfries.
Yeah, well, there's still talk about him.
Yeah, I really like him. I think he's a good player. Obviously, the dream of Jeremy Frimpong is gone. So we can die on that hill. But yeah, I think we need a right back. It doesn't seem like we're ever planning on playing with left wingers. So let's just can that off. And me personally, I'd like to see surprise, another striker. I'd like to see a striker who's actually going to play. Do you know what? I'd love it if we went and signed that Alcabi guy from Olympiacos.
He
banging signing. What a statement of intent that would be.
Yeah.
But
he does seem like someone who could come on for 15 minutes and just score a goal.
But this is the thing. Like he would come. I'm sure. I guarantee you. Like at the level of football that he's played, Champions League, Aston Villa come knocking. He'll come. That's what I reckon. It just depends. And he's 30 years old as well, so I can't imagine him costing a bomb. There's no ROI on him, but fuck it, why not?
Yeah. Kev said backup goal in a forward. Gaz says dominant right centre back. So maybe looking at moving on Diego Carlos. Gary says right back goalkeeper striker. Luiz said he'd sell Watkins for 120 million. I think most people.
He's added a zero there.
Yeah. Rachel says right centre back. MC said, Olsen getting the bin. Peaky Villain says right back, defensive midfielder and forward. I think we've got quite a few defensive midfielders right now. Peter says he likes to look at that Coyote kid from Wiley Coyote from Fiorentina, right back. I think we're meant to be interested in him. So that'll be good. James says good call, Sam. So I don't know what.
Hey, screenshot that for me.
Yeah. Peaky Villain said we need to make a big statement signing. So we will see
the finances now then. So now we've got past PSR for this one. Does that mean we can now spend? I'm a bit confused with it now. I knew what was going on until this point, but now I don't know what we can do.
Boys, can I ask you a question? I'm gonna pose a question to you. If you could sign realistic but bit of a dream signing, who would you sign as your marquee signing this summer? Who would you go and get? I've already got mine. I've been thinking this all since Euro started. So.
What, like money's no object type signing? Or
as in, like, would realistic, as in, imagine that Villa were allowed to spend what they want to spend, and it's a player who would realistically come to us. Don't say like Musiala or not that anyone would say.
Well, I think the chat's saying it. I'd take that Nico Williams.
That was my. They've ruined it for me.
All day.
That's who I wanted. I was watching him for Spain. Oh, what a player, man!
Yeah, he's got everything. Yeah.
Gaz wants Onana from United.
What's his name?
Choice.
Peaky says Youssef Fofana. Loads of people mention him. I don't know a lot about him. Kevin said Bayenya. I think we're interested in him by all accounts.
What about Goncalves?
Yeah, good again. Really good player again. Apparently interested in him.
I'd take Nico Williams, by the way, like all day.
Yeah,
he looks
brilliant.
He's big, he's strong, he's quick, he's skillful, he can score, he's got an eye for an assist. He looks absolutely mint.
Yeah. Well, he is absolutely starring in the Euros. This is a great segue into this chat, Sam. So thank you for that. Nico Williams is starring in the Euros. A team that isn't starring in the Euros currently is England, George. What have you made of England at the moment, and how we've managed to get into the quarterfinals? I'm sure you'll be pretty pragmatic about this, so I'll be interested to know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, coming into it, I mean, I think I did say it on air, didn't I? Everyone was like, this is the most talented England squad in bloody all time. And I didn't quite buy the hype, because I just thought to myself, I looked at that squad and the forward options are out of this world. But then when you suddenly realise that you can't play 9 forwards and about 4 or 5 of them will have to sit on the bench, that team doesn't look as great to me. It is a good team and it's underperforming, no doubt about it. For me, the problem, we're just not moving the ball quick enough. Everything is just too slow, too ponderous, too predictable. You called it, Sam, the other day, I think, on the group, when you said it was like Steve Bruce's Villa, and that's exactly what we are like. You can see what we're doing a million miles away. We're so easy to defend against. And yeah, we're stumbling through at the minute. It's moments of magic, isn't it? Another Stephen Gerrard line. We were seconds from going out the other day, which would have been humiliating, wouldn't it? Fair play to Slovakia, by the way. Defended for their lives, played really well. In fact, it wasn't that they were quite comfortable, really, weren't they? And they probably deserved to win. But we found a way through. And again, like the last Euros, the draw seems to be on our side. I've been very impressed with Switzerland so far, so that's not an easy game coming up. But if you can ask for a path of Slovakia, Switzerland, then it's going to be what we're looking at. Turkey win tonight, did they?
Yeah.
Turkey, and then was it the Dutch? The Dutch up there in the semis.
They won today, yeah.
Yeah, what a half to get into a final of Euros. So even as shit as we've been, I still think there's a chance we're going to be in that final, and it can only get better, surely.
Yeah. It was 94 minutes, Sam, of screaming at the TV about how crap England were, and then like about a minute or 2 minutes of absolute jubilation when Bellingham scored, and then 1 or 2 minutes into extra time, Harry Kane pops up with the one thing that he's done pretty much all Euros and scores a header. But yeah, you can't help but think some point something is going to catch up with England unless they improve these performances.
Yeah, I think George described it as a moment of magic, but it's kind of like when your uncle pulls a coin from behind your ear, that kind of magic. It's not good magic. It's not David Blaine magic. Like it's horrible to watch. And I've watched a lot of the Euros. I know that, again, sometimes a lot of the things that I say can be sort of put off as, Sam's a bit of a pessimist, Sam's a little bit crap. But the reality is we are playing the worst football that I've seen at the Euros. And I genuinely mean that. Like, even, for example, Portugal, Slovenia last night. Yeah, fine. They had to go to penalties and whatever, but Portugal were creating chance after chance after chance. They were a bit laboured. They were a bit sort of unlucky, but they were creating so much. And I was about to say Villa then. England, I've just been.
They didn't have a shot on target till that moment.
Mate, honestly, one of my mates put a bet on for England to not get a shot on target for the whole game. He put a tenner on it. He was only given 15-1 odds. Like, that's to not have a shot on target against Slovakia. For a team of England's quality is crazy. And I get what George is saying. Fine, look, we might not be. I still don't think defensively we're bad. We've got arguably the best right back in Premier League history, although he's playing like he's never played football before. Jordan Pickford, who, as much as I hate him, has historically been okay for England, has not made any massive mistakes. John Stones, who is centre back for one of the biggest, for arguably the best club in the world. Mark Gay or Ezri Konsa, both of whom are really good centre backs, and Kieran Trippier, who fine left back, he shouldn't be playing there. I don't know why. Another Southgate issue that he didn't bring Tyreek Mitchell, and he brought an injured Luke Shaw, and he played Trippier.
He should have bought someone else, shouldn't he? Bought another left back with him, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But sat in front of them, you've got Declan Rice, who's a £100 million player. You've got Kobe Mainoo, who's just so wildly talented.
He was brilliant the other night.
Didn't he?
He's the only player who had any real credit. I mean, Declan Rice is saying £100 million player. He's playing like a really £100 player at the moment.
Yeah, it's true. But the thing is, you can say that about any player.
Oh, yeah. I'm not just...
No, I'm not. Yeah. But my point is, my overriding point is that they're all playing so far away from how they play for their clubs. Harry Kane, just awful. Like, not even just like, his shots aren't going on target. Like, he can't touch the ball. Everything he does turns to rot. And Bukayo Saka, this is the worst I've ever seen him play. And, I put this in the chat and I put this on Twitter as well. England look like a team who are afraid to play. They look like a team who are afraid to make mistakes. The reason they pass the ball backwards and sideways so often is because they don't want to be the one to lose the ball. They think it's controlled football, but really all they're doing is slowing the tempo of the game down so much that they're letting every Tom, Dick and Harry get back into
they just make themselves so easy to play against.
It makes it so easy to play. It's awful. It's the worst brand of football I've seen England play for a significant period of time. It's, in my opinion, it's all Southgate's fault. Like, it just starts with him, that mentality, that cowardice, that lack of courage to play. Even teams like I saw Romania playing today, they played some beautiful football. Slovenia yesterday played some beautiful football. England
Turkey tonight, Georgia the other day.
Georgia were playing brilliant football against. It was Spain they played. They really gave it a go. Scored first, took it to them, and the amount of cowardice that has infiltrated the English game for me. You could talk about expectations. You could talk about Foden not playing his right position, but the fact that everyone's afraid to play football. I disagree with George. I mean, I think we'd be lucky to make it past the Swiss. I'm actually going to Germany in 2 days, so I'm going to be out there for a bit of the Euros. I'll be out there whilst we're playing Switzerland. I'm taking my England shirt, but I'm not expecting much. It's a shame. I think we just need the end of this Southgate era, but this is such a good opportunity to win this tournament, man. Such a good opportunity.
The thing is, I listening to him even after the game. And, the questions come about the substitutions and the lack of and the kind of choices that he's making. And he was saying about Ivan Toney was disgusted in me for bringing me on for 1 minute. And I don't for 1 minute blame him as well. He was just, what a horrific. But they had an inkling that he might be able to cause some chaos. Now, fair enough. He actually did do it, but it wasn't out of the decision that Southgate made. It was just like, you're not going to do anything in 30 seconds. But then he was also saying the people that, the players that we were looking to maybe would need to come off were Bellingham and Kane. Obviously, they did go on to score the goals, but they were playing so badly. And what is it that Gordon or Palmer, I know he brought Palmer on, or Bowen or Watkins or even Toney coming on earlier. What is it that they're going to do so badly? What is it that are they going to make the performance any worse, George? What is it with these lack of substitutions? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of always been like this, isn't he? If we've got a squad like we've got now, we should be trying to utilise it because we've got strength in depth there. Like I said, with all these attackers, try change it a little bit game to game. We're playing 7-8 games. There's nothing wrong with Saka coming out for a game and trying Palmer, or on the other side bringing in Eze. We've got quality there. That's the advantage we can have. But he's just tentative. He's it's a silly cliche, but it's Southgate. That is his personality, isn't it? We've had him at Villa back in the day as our captain. He was the same back then. He's a sensible. He's the sort of geezer that stands there drinking water at the bar when everyone's getting hammered. You know, that's just how he is, and that is his style. You know, the only positive I can find is that we're not conceding goals and we're not conceding chances. You know, and I look at the French at the minute. The French are stinking the place out as well on the team when it comes to it, and I think they'll go on and win it. But if you don't concede chances and goals, you're going to be there or thereabouts, however shit the performances are. So that's why
Steve Bruceism.
Yeah, you know, I'm not enjoying this, but at the same time, I don't want to spend the whole month slagging off England, and then all of a sudden, we might win it, and we'll be like, God, what? This should have been the best month of our lives. We're going to win the Euros, and all we've done is moan. So I don't really know how to feel about it, boys.
But even then, I mean, do you know what I hate? I hate when people compare us to France. Like, well, look at France; they're not doing very well in the Euros. Yeah, because they fucking won it like 17 times in the last 10 years. Like, they're fine. Don't worry about World Cup winning France 3 times in my lifetime and Euros winning and, you know, best team and playing some of the best football. Like, don't worry about France. Don't watch. Everyone's like, oh, Spain haven't been very good. But yeah, but look at what Spain did. They retained the Euros and won the World Cup and did all. Like, stop. Stop just comparing yourselves to whoever's not performing. No one's comparing us to who are performing. You know, the teams that are performing. I'm with you.
Is it performance or result? What's more important to you?
No, but George, I think.
I just think unless you're showing the performances at some point, the result will catch up with you.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
100% that will happen.
But like, even if we win the Euros like this, playing shit the whole way through, and then just like maybe sneak through and you know, play revolting football for the whole time, and then, you know, win it. Like, yeah, fine, we'll all be buzzing. But it's kind of take the edge off it. You know, you want to be the best team, don't you? Do you know, that's we don't. But let's be honest, we don't really care about anything else other than to say we're the best. So when you win a tournament and you're not the best, it's like, yeah, well, it's like Chelsea's Champions League win. What was that one where they were clearly by far not the best team in that tournament, but they shit out their way to it. There's always
there was all them years where they were great and they deserved to win it and didn't, and it was the time they weren't. They did, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. Could this be our time?
Yeah, well, one player who might come in who with a Villa spin on it is Ezri Konsa. Mark Gay is suspended for the quarterfinals. Konsa did come on in extra time, second half of extra time the other night at left back, which was another strange position for him. Did a pretty decent job, but probably could be coming on playing at the left-sided centre-back position on Saturday. George, what are your thoughts? I mean, he deserves his shot. Apparently, he's the next in line to come in, unless there's some other drastic changes. What do you think? Are you excited for Ezri to potentially make a start?
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, he's done so bloody well for Villa. He's been consistent over a long period of time, been patient, you know, and fair play. Like, we all thought we're going to back our man, aren't we? We all said it should have been Konsa and not Gehi, but Gehi has probably been the pick of the England players, I would say, over the tournament so far. So we can't really say anything. But, you know, if he's out, then hopefully Konsa will come in. But I'm surprised, like Gomez is a left-sided centre-back, isn't he? I'm surprised there's been no talk about him or even him covering at left-back. I don't think Southgate can really fancy him too much.
No.
Hopefully Konsa comes in and takes his chance.
Yeah. The talk has been Konsa and then like Luiz Dunk, and then even then it was like, oh well, Kyle Walker could shuffle inside to centre back, obviously push Stones across one more position and then bring Trent in at right back. But yeah, you're right, there hasn't been any conversation about Joe Gomez, and that again, that makes you think, yes, Southgate pushed for this 26-man squad. I think that was mainly due to kind of bringing Luke Shaw in, but some of these players are just not going to get any type of opportunity. So, you know, someone like Joe Gomez, someone like Wharton, they're going to think, well, what the hell was the point in me coming? And now I know
there is doesn't give him enough of a go.
Yeah. There are always players that don't make it, don't get onto the pitch at some sort of time. But it just seems strange with some of these players not getting any looking at all. Yeah, it just seems a little bit strange, but we'll see. We'll see with Ezri. Hopefully, he makes an appearance. And Sam, you're not confident that Ollie Watkins can come on and change a game or get the winning goal in the quarterfinals or the semi-finals?
No, of course he can. Of course he can. He's got more than enough to do it. And there are so many times I'm watching Harry Kane, I'm thinking, it's the Slovakia game. They pressed us. They were just pressing us so high from the front, and it was absolutely disturbing our rhythm. And I was just thinking, why aren't we doing that the other way around? Like even when we went 2-1 up and we went into that low block because we try and protect the lead.
No, it was
That really
asking to
pissed
be
me off,
scored
that.
against. We were asking to
Get
be
them on the
scored
ropes, and then we just
This is what Southgate doesn't understand. If you invite pressure, eventually they're going to score. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's the most negative. Anyway, look, forget Southgate. We all know he's shit and he's going to leave. But there are so many times I watch his games and I'm just like, oh, Ollie would be perfect here. Ollie would do a job. And I think he even, what was it, that Brazil game in the friendlies where he sort of knocked the ball down and I don't know who it was. Was it Kane or Bellingham or someone got on the end of, he kept the ball alive.
Belgium.
Just made something happen. And it was like Ollie Watkins can do that. Like, I know I give Ollie Watkins a lot of stick, but I still think he's a brilliant player. And I think he definitely has. He has something to add to this team. But I think what's really telling as well is I noticed in the lineup, the Dutch lineup, like how many of their star players didn't play, or was like were on the bench because for tactical reasons. You've got players like obviously Maatsen, who's now that he's a Villa player, I'm going to name him even though he's probably not their best player. You've got Frimpong, you've got De Ligt, you've got Wijnaldum, you've got Gravenberch, you've got like all these players who you'd assume are like top players, and they're not playing in places. People like was it Reijnders, Schuiten, like Bergwijn starting in front of, even just putting Frimpong on that right side. Like I would say what you want about Ronald Koeman, but there are teams that are just saying, actually, do you know what? We're just gonna like play the team that fits.
Yeah, 100%.
And England don't do that because Southgate is ultimately the world's biggest pussy, and he doesn't want to offend any. He doesn't want to upset any of the big names. He doesn't want Jude putting him in a corner and telling him off. He doesn't, want to upset Foden. Just bring on Gordon. If you're not going to move Foden into the middle, bring on Gordon. If Saka's not playing well, bring someone up. Bring on Bowen. Give him a go because he's been.
Think about him.
He's been brilliant. I mean, I would argue over the last 2 seasons, Bowen's been better than Saka in a worse team. Do you know what I mean? So it's a lack of bravery, and I keep coming back to this thing, but to just like do the right thing, just like look for the team, look for the result, and let all of those players know that because I see Jude Bellingham. I really like Jude Bellingham, by the way, even though he's a blue nose. I do like him, and I like his attitude and stuff like that. But some of the stuff he's been saying recently, I think he's got in his own head a little bit. He's talking about, there's just so much pressure when you play for England, and I like proving people wrong, and he's like grabbing his balls and stuff like that. And it's like, mate, you need to calm down.
Yeah, it's like everything has been, all the criticism has been not only fair, but it's actually been about the quality of the football, which absolutely no England supporter, player, coach, journalist can actually indicate to anything that is other than absolute crap at the moment. So, yeah, I think they just need to sort it out on the pitch before they start.
If they lose to Switzerland, what they should do as a punishment is make them watch those games back.
Yeah.
That's their punishment. Watch the games back and then tell me you're not shit. Try and tweet something positive whilst you're watching those games. That's your job. That's your punishment. But I mean, you never know. George probably white. Will probably go on and win it. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of football to play, but we will see on Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff against the Swiss, who are looking pretty good. But we'll probably sneak a win in there somewhere and then make it to the semis. So I do think ultimately it'll end up in heartbreak, and I think then the full might of the criticism will come down on the team and on the manager. But we will wait and see. Boys, quick one, just quick to finish up. There was news of these ticket prices, back to Villa related. There was news of the ticket prices that came out for like single matches, and I think got criticised by the Football Fans Forum or something like that, the Football Fans organisation about the increases. Football Supporters Association. Cheers, Sam. Over 90 quid, I think it was in one of the 1888 suites, 78 quid for like category A matches, no concession on those for under 18s and pensioners. Some of the prices are absolutely crazy. I don't know about you boys, what your thoughts on it are, but it does seem a little bit steep to me.
I think they're obviously trying to capitalise on the season we've just had. And I understand that, and we all know that we need to make the money to become the big club, to become the big brand, and we've got a lot of catching up to do. That's all good and well, and it is, and that is what we need to do. But I still think they don't quite know their audience at Villa. You know, they ain't going to stand for that. If they want proper Villa fans in, that's not what they're going to be getting. They're basically aiming this at fair weather fans, you know, tourists, businessmen, all coming into network and stuff. We're going to turn into a very diluted Villa Park if this carries on, and I guess this is the price you pay, isn't it? You join the big boys. This is how it's going to be. Corporate this, corporate that, opportunities. It's not going to be for the real fan, but I guess you've got to sell your soul to the devil if you want a seat at the table. Yeah,
well, I think they'll sell out regardless. I mean, the way that those premium season tickets, they went in a week, so I don't think there'll be any issue with them selling. It'll be interesting to see how many games are classed as Category A and how many games are classed as Category B, because some of the prices in the different zones at Category B were actually quite reasonable. I don't know. Again, Sam, what your thoughts on it? Do you think it's just a kind of reality that we're going to have to face up to with Aston Villa, or do you think the criticism is fair and warranted?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I can understand that, you know, for your average fan, you know, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, you know. It's not, you know, I'm fortunate to be able to have a season ticket at the Villa, and it's something that I can afford. But I can imagine if I just wanted to go to an off game, and you know, I'm spending £100 a pop, or you know, 75, whatever it is. I can understand why people are upset about it, because it's not affordable for everyone, and
no.
I don't like football's ultimately a working man sport, isn't it? There shouldn't be any barriers to entry to go and watch your local team play whatever level of football they're playing. So I do get it, but at the same time, I appreciate that from the Villa owner's perspective, and you know, even Chris Eck to some extent, you know, this isn't a cash grab for them. They're trying to comply. They're trying to grow the club, trying to grow the brand. I don't think they have any interest in making any money from more than what they normally would request from the fans, you know, just as operating business costs. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're just trying to stay in touch with what they're trying to achieve on the pitch. And the only way to do that is to, you know, they're not allowed to sell players for fear of, you know, getting called cheats. They can't, you know, sell academy players. They can't do this.
Can't buy players and invest in the team to finish higher up the league and get more Champions League money and all that. You know,
you can't invest in your own club without, you know, and say, look, this isn't a loan, and just write it off and say, look, this is a big cash investment I'm pushing into the club. Like there is no other way for them to generate money apart from, you know, taking it from us. And I believe that the owner's intentions are sincere. I think Chris Heck is a bit of a different entity. I think he's come in to generate revenue. I think that's his only purpose. I don't think he gives a shit about Villa. I don't think he really understands, you know, the club. But I think he's good at making money for sports teams. So yeah, I know a lot of fans will feel like it's shit, and they're probably right, and I feel for them. But I think it's just reality. If you ask me, again, I'm in a fortunate position where if you said to me, pay an extra tenner on your ticket per game or on your season ticket or whatever, but you get more continued success and you get Champions League football, and I'm taking that every day. But I know for some people it's not a reality, so it's hard for me to talk about it.
Like you say, it doesn't sit right. It doesn't sit right with me. You know, even if you went in like the zone 2 or the zone 3, like you said, Sam, for what would be classed as a Category A game, you wanted to take like an adult and child, it's 150, 160 quid there and then, right there and then. Then you take into account you travel there, then you take into account, you know, a couple of drinks and a program and some food. You're talking,
and they want to go in the club shop.
Yeah, you're talking £250, £300 to take your kid to a football match.
I mean, you're right. It's not how you want it to be. And you see, like, for example, like German clubs, they always cap their ticket prices and they subsidize their free travel to the stadium and stuff like that. But I mean, Villa have been very clear about what they want to do for a long time. They've said we want to expand the area around Villa Park. We want people to spend more time in the area around Villa Park before and after match days. We want you to come into our big new club shop and buy our fancy Adidas gear, and you know, we want to make money off you.
That's another thing. There's people are going to be finding money from all here, there, and everywhere for that training kit and those kits.
FYI, boys, wait until you see the cost of the kits next year.
I know.
Rumors,
I know.
mate.
That's going to be the next.
I've got it on half decent authority that you're looking at. If you're one of those thin guys and you can afford the Profit shirts, I think they're going to be around 160 quid or something like that. Like, it's extortionate money, and even the normal ones will be close to about 100 quid or something like that, probably. Look, this is where the sport is. You know, you have Jim Ratcliffe on doing an interview the other day, the Man United minority shareholder, talking about how because Man United bring in more money for the Premier League than anyone else, they should have more of a say. And the only way to shoot, fight fire is with fire. They say, well, fine, we're going to generate our own revenue and we're going to be self-sufficient and compete at the top. And we've got so many things going against us, like a lot of institutions, I would say, who don't want us to succeed. I do genuinely, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right, but I put it back to you then, Rich. You talk about a 300 quid match day cost for a parent and child to go to the Villa. How else would you propose, or do you envisage Villa being able to compete financially to stay where we are and continue success?
No, I think I don't disagree with you. Like I say, it doesn't sit right with me, but I'm in a similar situation to you. Like, people are going to pay it, and people will find the money to do it, and it will ultimately happen. So if they can do what they say they're going to do with a kind of improvements around the ground and making the experience for people feel like they're getting that value for it, whether that be, the fun zones and improving that and the general experience for people, then maybe that will compensate it a little bit more as well. But yeah, for the time being, with the size of the ground that we've got, it's you've got to understand why they're doing it and what's going to happen with it.
It feels to me that they're trying to sacrifice. They've realised that, like you're saying, like the family who wants to take the dad that wants to take his two kids week in, week out. I think they've decided to sacrifice them for a tourist family a different family coming every week that are going to spend all that money every time they come. Like a new family one week, they're going to do all of that, do the £300. Then the next week, another family are going to do it. Then another family do it. Whereas they
deliberately didn't. Yeah, they deliberately didn't increase the number of season tickets that were going to be sold this season. So they know they've got a waiting list. So if people don't decide to renew, that will get taken up by people on the waiting list. I think it's like 27,000 season ticket holders or something. They're trying to add some extra seats in so that they know that they can, like you said, George, they sell those tickets, the 13,000, 14,000 that are available at the higher prices. They'll have already factored in how much money that's going to bring in if they can sell out every week. And that's ultimately extra money that's going to come into the club. Then if you factor in the improvements around the ground that they're going to make, the premium seating that they're going to bring in, the drinks that people are going to buy, hopefully people stay for an extra hour before and after the game. That all helps to kind of bring more money into the club. And like you say, Sam, it's a reality that's going to be happening with all clubs in the Premier League, especially if we want to keep pushing on and keep competing.
George, can I ask you a question? Who do you consider, or who do you designate to be a tourist? Are you talking about people who are literally tourists from out of the country, or just people who don't go to games very often?
Just day trippers, mate, that are just in the country and they want to see a Premier League game. I think that's what they're aiming at. I think that's what the London clubs do as well. You see all the Korean flags every week at Spurs. They've obviously all come to see Son. Next week, it's another load turn up and another load. It ain't the same people. I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to become.
I think the people that this affects the most are probably people who don't have a season ticket and would rather and can only have the time and the resources to go to maybe like 2 or 3, 4 games a year. Take their kid to go and see. I think those are the people who are going to be affected the most by this. Like,
yeah,
like you and I don't know, Rich, if you've got a season ticket, but
no.
Like, I know, George, you've got one, I've got one. We've got a lot in the podcast. Like, I think the big scandal for us was they tried to put on a handling fee or like an administration fee onto us, and then I got a call from the club, and they were like, "Oh, we've accidentally charged you." I was like, "It wasn't a fucking accident.
You just weren't expecting the backlash."
Yeah, so like, I do get it. I think it's a shame. The natural idea would be to move to a bigger stadium. Chris X already ruled that out and said we're not going anywhere. And loads of problems with Villa Park. Obviously, it's not big enough. It's the infrastructure around it isn't right. Transportation. There's loads and loads of reasons why we should leave. But for one reason or another, we're not going anywhere. So it looks like this is the status quo for now. But I mean, the benefit is people who can't make the games, at least they can watch Villa in the Champions League on their TV if they can afford the £400 a month that it is for Sky or BT or whatever else it is. Like this, I think this is my problem. My final point is I don't like there's now a financial barrier to entry to watch football. And I'm not just talking about going to the game. I'm talking about watching it on TV, like watching the Champions League, watching your team. Like if you don't have £100 to spend on BT and Prime and fucking whatever else it's on, Sky Sports and all this and that, you can't watch your football team. I don't like that. I think it's not right. I think there are kids out there who are missing out on watching football, watching the clubs that they love because their parents are dealing with the rest of the shit that the world is throwing at them right now with costs and stuff. I don't like there being a financial barrier to entry for the sport. We're not golf. We're not, I'd rather, if you ask me, I'd rather probably play a lower level of football and have everyone be able to watch the game and watch the sport. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, you just said there about who are they aiming it at. I mean, they've stuck a big corporate section in next to the away fans. Yeah. To me, that is by design. That is for when Man United turn up, Chelsea turn up, Tottenham turn up, Arsenal turn up, and these day trippers that I'm talking about, they're going to buy them tickets because they can't get in their away end, but they can be close to it, and they will sell them, and they're selling them at stupid prices. I mean, that they were the shitty cheap seats, weren't they? I mean, what are they going to be selling them for now a game? At a corporate price, what, 100, 120 a game, 130 a game?
Well, I don't know if they went as season tickets, the sales.
Corporate season tickets?
But it's like premium plus.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so
I think standing, haven't they, to get more people in as well.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's one of those. I'm torn about it. It's 50-50. I don't think it's an ideal scenario, but I think it is what it is.
Is there an ideal scenario? I don't mean there is.
Exactly. No. Exactly. Boys, we have almost an hour and a half of chat, which has been a great fans forum, and over 350 people watching on X and on YouTube. Over 300 watching still right now, and it's 20-12. So thank you everyone for your support. I will do a show on transfer talk and transfer rumours. I think Max Bayer, I did cover him the other day. People talk about Bijol as well, that we've potentially put a bid in for as well. So as a couple more rumours maybe come to light, I will do another transfer talk show, but we'll cover that on another show. Fans Forum will be back next week, and if any other news happens, any more signings happen, we'll be back on the channel for that. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us on the road to 5K. Boys, great to have you on board again for the Fans Forum. Thank you very much for jumping on. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and thank you in the chat. Yes, hopefully we sign him right back for Sam. We'll be back with more shows later on this week, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.